Welcome to this exclusive extension of the Beskop Tsechu Festival, Bhutan's groundbreaking showcase of documentary, animation and short films. This non-profit event, organized by dedicated filmmakers, artists and volunteers, is a testament to Bhutan's flourishing creative spirit. Launched amidst the grandeur of the historic royal wedding in 2011, this festival continues to inspire and promote innovative storytelling in Bhutanese cinema. This year, there's been 26 entries, from which 18 were shortlisted for the festival. We are excited to show you these films and documentaries to you on BBS. I have the pleasure of meeting some of the filmmakers to find out more about their production. Kunzang Nima's lifelong passion for art, nurtured since childhood, has driven him to pursue a career as a professional artist and storyteller. Inspired by animated films, he dedicated himself to honing his skills in drawing, painting, and animation through both formal education and self-directed learning from online platforms. With experience as a VFX artist at Shangri-La and a background in freelance work, he combines technical expertise with creative vision to pursue his aspirations in storytelling and visual expression. Kusuzampu Kunzang, and welcome. Thank you so much for taking this time out, and congratulations, your short film made it to the festival. How do you feel?
Not that different.
Not that different.
It's a wonderful opportunity, and I can't put it into words. It's a new experience.
Is this your first work, by the way?
Yes.
Okay.
First, I guess you can be considered the second.
I see. And what was the first work about?
First one was for, if you know the rapper Kunzang Nima, for his music video Tam Tsum, so he wanted a bit of animation involved in it. So I helped him with that.
The Tam Tsum that came out relatively recently. The second version, the newer version.
The newer version.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you did the artwork there? All right, and this is technically your second work, but your first film.
First film.
Now, for those of you who haven't watched it or who will watch it, you will find out that this story, his story, it's a 4-minute long?
4-minute long.
Short story, is about a
chair.
A chair. So tell me, first of all, what made you think about telling a story from the perspective of a chair?
The story was a bit personal because at that moment when I was writing the story, I wanted to put forward a bit of my feelings at the current moment in time. I was, right after class 12, worked for a production company, and then there's a massive influx of people going out, get a degree, get a job. It felt like I was stuck somewhere. So I thought, what's the best way to portray this? Like hopelessness. So a chair, you can't move. You just have to sit there. Just wait as time passes by, and you just have to let the world push you around.
Wow.
So that in that sense, I wanted to sort of write a story about that situation.
And I think you did a pretty good job of expressing that feeling of being stuck, that hopelessness. But at the same time, by the end, there's a glimmer of hope. Was that intentional?
Yes, because it might be to sort of give myself encouragement, self-encouragement, to hope that there is a brighter future, but you never know. So that's why she's still in the chair, she's still in the same position, but with a new perspective. So with a new perspective, maybe with a bit of motivation to move forward. So you can't say it's good or bad. It's just a newer perspective.
I think it's a very wise theme coming from somebody so young. What makes you, what do you attribute that to? How are you so wise? Especially in that, I mean, it was a very short film, but the idea, the concept of it, how I thought, and the narrator sounded to me like an older woman. So I thought, okay, she's wise. But I did not expect, for those of you who do not know that, it's Kunzang's voice. He tweaked it a little bit more to make it sound like a lady's voice. And I thought that suited her because what she was narrating to her viewers was very wise. But how come you have that wisdom?
Thank you for the compliment. I wouldn't say wisdom, more like it came from a particular line that I read from Miyazaki's art book. How he writes his stories through his experience in life. So he tries to put deep meaning into very small but cartoonistic. So children may not be able to grasp it, but there's always some underlying meaning to it that is related to his own life.
Wow.
So I thought, oh, that's an interesting way to write a story. So let's give it a shot. So that's what.
Wow. And so you said Miyazaki?
Miyazaki.
Who, can you help us understand who he is?
Miyazaki is a well-known Japanese artist, director, and filmmaker. Known mostly as his company is founder of Ghibli. Founder of the Ghibli company. Wonderful man.
I see.
Really inspiring.
Yes, I was going to ask you. So, who or what are your inspirations? Because as soon as I started watching your film, it just transported me to another country, specifically Japan. Because that is the kind of animation we usually see from Japan. So I want to know more about your inspiration.
My inspiration from Dragon Ball Z was I used to live in Jiangxi before, and my mom would both my mom and dad had to work. So I would just be at home, they would turn on the television, and you'd be Cartoon Network, and during that time Dragon Ball Z was being replayed on loop. So that's where I thought, oh, such an interesting character, you know. And my dad himself is an artist, traditional artist, tank artist.
Oh, wow.
Topge, he's an amazing man.
I
so
see.
he's also one of my biggest inspirations. And though our art styles may diverge, it's different, but he always encourages me to follow my passion in art. So watching Dragon Ball Z, I sort of got the Japanese influence.
I see.
So from a young age, just copy drawing whatever I saw on TV. So I guess that's how I developed that sort of interest.
But I think there must be something in you for you to be able to be there sitting in front of television watching Dragon Ball Z and then connecting the dots to, you know what, I can create something like this. What was that?
It was out of jealousy, I guess, in some sense.
Okay.
As a child, you would think it's amazing what the character in the story is experiencing, like the adventures that they're going through. Me, I feel so bored, stuck at home, you know. But as you age, you realize you can't have that sort of adventure. You can't shoot fireballs from your hand. So I thought, what's another way I can sort of have that? So I thought by writing story, drawing, so I thought let's bring out my imagination to life. So I thought that was really interesting. And I can't say for sure why I like that, but it's just, I can't explain.
But it worked for you,
It worked
right?
for me.
It worked for you.
I just like it.
What about your dad? You did say how his work, his artwork and your artwork are very different from each other. But do you feel like there is something about his way of working or his artwork influenced you, or do you share anything in common when it comes to, I mean, of course, both of you are creative, but anything else?
I guess the main thing that connects us is just the process of doing the artwork. Because my dad would tell me up front, he said, there is no particular way to draw. Even though if we, sort of tag traditional animation, he says the process is the same. You sit down, you think of an idea, and then you try to portray it through colors and through painting. And the similarity would be just that, I guess, like wanting to paint, wanting to send a message.
I see. So then now I want to know about the thought process that went behind Waiting with Promise, right? So could you explain to me how you conceived the idea of that film and what was the process that went behind to produce that?
Process is rather long because apart from the deep thinking aside, the technical aspect was very difficult because it is still a production, so you have to learn about camera angles, script writing, there's like timing, you gotta have to learn so many different softwares. It was overwhelming, so I thought it'd be better just to look into people who already done it. So there's a book, I'm not sure, I forgot the name, it was Genga. It was a book on Genga. Genga means like second key drawings for animation. So reading that book gave me a lot of insights on how the Japanese made the animation, the production pipeline. So I thought, let's just follow that. And the production pipeline, to keep it very summarized, was make a story, create a script, storyboard it, do a voiceover, and then start the production painting process.
Oh, so the voiceover comes before?
Before.
Oh,
Before.
okay.
Because in animation it's very difficult because after you paint it, it takes hours. And if there's a mistake in the voiceover, you can't compromise the voiceover because no matter what you say, in films I still consider sound much more important than the visual itself. The visual itself is like icing on the cake. I think it's like
Wow.
so it's mostly the story and the sounds that really do make up the film, and the visuals just add the icing on the cake.
Wow.
So that's why usually most filmmakers always do the voiceover first, along with the storyboard.
Oh, wow. Okay, I see. Well, this is new information for me because I always thought you'd shoot the film and then then the voiceover later. But this is a fresh new perspective for me. So Kunzang, how do you balance artistic vision with practical constraints like timeline and budget?
Since it's a solo production, it's very flexible. So I didn't exactly have a deadline until I saw Beskop's announcement on Instagram. So I thought of taking my time with this project. Thought I'd give it 3 to 4 months, but then with the new deadline set by Beskop, I thought, I had to rush it. So I only had 2 months to complete it, and 4 minutes for 2 months, it's quite large.
It is.
Yes. And budget-wise, didn't exactly have any issues because I don't have any employees or anything. It's just my food and coffee.
But then you did the story, you animated it, you did the voiceover yourself, you edited it, and you packaged it to be for us to watch. Was that because you knew you could do all of it, or was that due to budget constraint?
It's partly because I knew I could do it. At the same time, I didn't want to use money lavishly because I'd never done this process. So I thought it'd be wrong of me just to, use money blindly without knowing the process. So I wanted to do this first project and then learn about the process. And so maybe the next project I might get a few helping hands.
I see.
So that's also the reason why I constrained myself on the budget front to keep it zero.
I see. All right. Wow. Okay. So it's zero budget. But then you can't say zero budget. You invested 2 months of your life into it more. So out of the whole procedure, from the beginning till the end, which one's your favorite?
In this one, the voice acting must have been the most interesting.
Really? Why is that?
I had to change. First of all, I had to keep it zero budget, so I can't hire any voice actors. So then, what's the best way? I don't generally find my voice on screen that amusing. It's not that interesting. So I wanted a bit of jumpy, active, very elegant sort of lady voice. And then I thought, how could I get that using zero? Most of my friends are in Australia, so that was off the list. So I thought, there's a lot of new technology, voice changes. I was exploring to that. I spent about a week trying to learn how to few sound plugins, to sort of alter and change the pitch, tone of the voice. And I also used the help of AI. It was interesting. I had to download and install a lot of softwares. So it was interesting because that was the most because it was new.
You got to explore and experiment.
Explore.
Wow.
So it was new.
Right. So maybe when you do end up working on your third project, you might not, because you enjoy it so much, you might still end up doing the voiceover. No, this is
definitely
it.
not.
All right, Kunzang, tell me, let's talk about challenges when you were working for, I think, about more than 2 months more on this project. What were some challenges that you faced and how did you overcome it?
Challenges mostly technical front in terms of painting, because I don't exactly have a particular art style. I just love painting whatever I see. So if it looks beautiful, I just paint it. Doesn't matter whose style, Van Gogh, Japanese Miyazaki, it doesn't matter the style, I just like to paint it. So then deciding on a visual identity was the most difficult part. So even in the short film, some of the scenes, they look a bit different, the painting style. Some of them look oil, some of them look watercolor. So it was difficult to keep it in one smooth, consistent flow. So that was quite difficult.
With inspirations mostly from outside of the country, was it difficult for you to hone and have a hobby and interest and passion in art? How did you manage to keep your passion for art alive with inspirations mostly from outside the country?
I would say there was inspiration from mostly outside, but it's kind of due to the lack of archive or images of Bhutan, because I really did want to include a lot of Bhutanese art, architecture and textiles and sort of painting in the short film, but there's very little resources. And when it comes to being an artist, our number one most important thing is to have references. You can't paint if you can't see, So the most of the resources that you can find online, it's because there's too much of it outside Japan, foreign influence. And of Bhutan, there's very little. And the ones that do exist is very stagnant in traditional painting. And it's really hard to invent something new. So I would say, I'm still not there, but hopefully I'll get there to sort of capture Bhutan in animation.
I see. And what kind of resources did you have access to for you to be able to produce a fine work like that? What kind of technology?
Technology, basic editing software and painting softwares. You have, due to the current market and people just being people, there's a lot of open source softwares. You don't exactly have to pay for anything. I used DaVinci Resolve for most of it, for the editing. For the painting, I used Clip Studio Paint, is a software. That is paid, so I have my older brother in Australia who pays for it.
Oh, okay.
So I use that. For the voice, there's Audacity, it's free. And most of the actual budget and money constraints come from the machinery. So I have a laptop, it's around 78,000, and the drawing tablet about 50,000. So those are kind of hard to procure.
So I'm going to ask you before you leave. Oh, yes, I know what I was going to ask you. So you are an artist in the sense you love to draw and paint, and that is what was depicted in your film too. But you also, for you to produce a film like that, you also have to be an artist in the sense you have to be a filmmaker. Was it difficult for you to think about the camera angles and the other aspects of filmmaking?
Yes, and also no. In some, because I watched a lot, so I just copy paste some
I see.
referencing. Let's say referencing.
I see. All right.
So, and most of my cinematography knowledge comes from Shangri-La, the place I used to work in. I used to be a VFX artist, but I used to just see what they were doing, because what we use in animation is copied directly from the real world cinematography. So if you want this angle, it's already invented during an actual film. So for this, I remember watching, I'm not sure, but it was a short narrative on, I think, about an art piece, and the camera angle was interesting. How they just kept it they didn't show any of the people.
Exactly. There was no faces in your film, right?
Yes.
It was just mostly body, and of course you got to see the whole of the chair, but no faces, no characters.
So it was for them to have a sort of celestial voice, I guess, that you can see. So it was interesting style. I thought, let's go with that.
Wow.
So I just did research. There's a lot of articles, YouTube, Google. You just have to read a lot, and it's not that difficult to find or do research.
I see. My final question for you, Kunzang. You're only 21 years old, but I'm going to go ahead, because you've created such a beautiful work, I'm going to go ahead and ask you, what advice would you have for younger people who are aspiring to be animators like yourself?
If you're aspiring to be an animator, you have to be ready to work a lot. It's just purely you just have to sit on a chair for 8 hours. Of course you can eat and all, but be prepared for a lot of struggling, grinding, because it really is just hard work. There are different ways, 3D is there, 2D, drawing, many ways you can animate. It doesn't matter what art style you use, but you have to have the discipline to just sit down and look at the screen or whatever medium you're using, and to be there 8 hours straight, or even more if you can.
I see.
Just discipline and just, honestly, it's just discipline. If you want to
Discipline,
be,
right?
just
Okay,
discipline.
all right. Discipline, commitment, and
Commitment
resilience, I
and
guess. You have to
resilience.
pull through it. Remember, there's more.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Kunzang. I appreciate you taking this time out to talk about your film. I'm sure our audience will enjoy the film as much as I did. Congratulations once again for having made it to the festival. Thank you so much.
Thank you.